Hey, dudes and dudettes, welcome to another radical episode of Renton Reflects. Jaw! Okay, I'm not going to do that voice throughout the whole review, but what I am going to do is talk about a film that's a little obscure. Obscure in the sense that it hasn't been as widely available on home video and DVD as of recent. Although it is available to purchase and rent on such websites as YouTube and Amazon Prime. Believe it or not, this movie was co-produced by the Walt Disney Corporation. So, if you think about it, it's as if Disney's almost ashamed that they helped make this movie. I mean, how bad can it really be? Well, if you really want to know, I'll tell you how it goes. The story features these two surfer brothers from Hawaii named Phil and Stu, who basically act as slackers, living off the wealth of their rich father. One day they both get in trouble for skipping school. The father won't stand for this kind of behavior any longer, so he decides to ship the two out to a boot camp in Wyoming. Along the way, an accident occurs, and through comedic circumstances, both Phil and Stu are mistaken for new recruits as park rangers for Yellowstone. The rest of the movie consists of an outrageous comedic farce, involving prairie dogs, circus animals, a natural geyser, and a former park ranger secretly plotting revenge. And it's up to the two brothers to straighten it all out. As you could probably guess, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of confidence in the story. One might think that with the Disney Corporation, they would have been able to really branch out in this movie's marketing. But, to be honest, I had no idea this movie existed when I was a kid. I don't recall seeing its trailer, its movie poster, its TV spots, or anything of that sort. Of course, this isn't the only time I've come across a live-action Disney movie from the 90s that I didn't know existed. But in the case of Meet the Deedles, in hindsight, it was probably for the best that I didn't know about it back then, because it really sucks. Basically, it fails in its humor on so many levels, ultimately becoming sort of like an unfunny live-action version of a cartoon. What with it having a ludicrous plot, an overuse of surfer slang, gags that have very predictable results, and characters that are so one-dimensional, there's hardly any character to come out of them. Even cartoons have more dignity and better development than this. Mainly, its biggest problem was that it tried to be like all those other goofball duo comedies that were very popular in the 90s, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Wayne's World, Dumb and Dumber, just to name a few. Whereas those movies have subtlety and charm in their humor, this movie hardly has any subtlety or charm in its humor. Sure, it tries to be all cute in some of its jokes, but in the end, it results in a viewing experience that's so lame and so unengaging, even surfer dudes from the 90s would see this movie as totally not righteous. And so, for my rating, I give this movie on a scale between 1 and 10, a 3.5. It's not the worst live-action comedy I've ever seen, but it's still pretty bad, and not worth a recommendation. Unless if obscure live-action Disney movies are your kind of thing, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. Thus concludes my review. Thanks for watching and have a gnarly day, dudes! Jaw!